Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video for you. Today we are looking at three of the same knife for a very specific purpose. I'm actually going to do a full review on the Tanto version here, and that's not this video. That's going to come up in a few more weeks. But for this video, I want to take the opportunity while I have all three of these. Obviously, I'm not keeping all three of these. It would be silly to have the exact same knife in your collection that many times, although, we'll forget about the people who collect like Paratus or some Spyderco model and have like every single Endura that's ever been conceived of. But I really don't have an interest in doing that, and so I'm not going to be keeping every single one of these knives. But this does represent a really, really good opportunity to do some legitimate side-by-side comparison on cutting performance and how the blade grind contributes to that, because we have this hollow ground, or wow, we have this flat ground 8010 light. We have this lower hollow grind with the Tanto, and then we have a higher hollow grind with the standard version in G10 and S35 VN. By the way, let me add to this that you can get these for pretty good prices right now. The lights I think go for around $100, but I've seen, the 8010 standard is only like, you can find them on sale for like 130, 120. A couple people mentioned to me, and if you have, they don't happen to be on sale at White Mountain Knives right now, but all of these did come from White Mountain Knives. So if you go over there, find anything in stock, they've got a bunch of new cold steels coming up as well. Use my discount code SHARPSTUFF and that will save you 10% off. Now, back to our discussion. I do want to do a side-by-side comparison. I've got a couple little examples that I think are going to be really, really helpful for this. The first one will show that there's not always that much of a difference. And then the other one will demonstrate, will perhaps demonstrate, I'm going to try it out right here on camera, will perhaps demonstrate some of the differences in that geometry of these grinds makes. So the first thing I just want to do really quickly is a little bit of carving. So I've got this 2x4. We used this in a previous video a couple weeks ago, and it's just been sitting around my office ever since. But for carving type tasks, anything where we're working with a bit of little piece of wood here, bushcraft, whatever the case may be, I suspect these are going to be fairly similar, because you're really just dealing with that initial edge. And guess what? As I hold these knives and go through the different examples that I've got, that does bite a little easier. Okay. So this is the higher hollow grind. This is the flat grind. I'm going to try a little deeper cut. And yeah, I have to apply a little more pressure there. And then finally, I'm going to do the lower hollow grind. And again, I can get it to bite a little deeper, a little more easily. So these three, when it comes to sort of wood carving tasks, maybe you're doing some bushcrafting, or, if you're like me as a kid, I used to carve a point on every single stick that I came in contact with. If you're doing that kind of thing, perhaps you're preparing feather sticks, or you're making traps and you're kind of carving out notches and stuff. They're going to be pretty similar, with the qualification that the high hollow grind did bite in just a little easier. It pushed a little bit deeper into the material with a little less effort, but it was not something that I feel like is significant. Okay. Where you're going to notice this a little bit more is, let's say you're cutting up carrots for your soup, or you're, cutting an apple for the kids, or something along those lines. That's where you may notice the flat grind is a little more, it has a tendency to split rather than slice. Now, it's a pretty high flat grind, and because of that, it's still going to be pretty good. All right, so if you're watching this going, Kevin, you're a jerk because the hollow grind 8010s are not really around anymore, and that's true. That said, the flat grind is still an easy knife to recommend. Do I like the hollow grind a little bit more? Yeah, I definitely do that, but they're definitely, I wouldn't say avoid this knife now since it doesn't have a hollow grind. All right, now I'm going to bring in this piece of cardboard. I was cutting this up the other day. The other piece that matches this, I used it to start a little campfire that we were having here, and I realized this is extremely dense. Like, it's not quite as dense as wood, but very, very dense and very hard to cut. And so because of that, it's going to be a pretty nice test bed. So let me start with the Tanto hollow grind here and just cut through that. And it cuts it pretty nicely. And I mean, in a surprise to no one, you know, a really sharp knife can cut a paper-based material. Okay, so I'm not saying that I wasn't expecting it to be able to cut. Okay, but what I was wanting to notice was the difference in pressure, the difference in effort that was involved. Now I'm switching over to the flat grind. And here's where you can notice a bit of a difference. Okay, with the flat grind, especially on the long straight cuts, you just get a bit more pinching action on the blade. Now, people will argue sideways, it's still really, really easy. Okay, oh, looks like I'm moving everything over. Sorry, guys. Let's get this back on track. Okay, I'm not going to cut that out. So, you know, you got to see a little piece of my USB C adapter there so that I can plug my old flash drives and stuff into my Mac. But having done this little side-by-side test, there are a couple things that stand out to me. Number one, if you're deeply concerned about very fine, slicey tasks, a hollow grind is a huge, huge win. Do you sacrifice a little bit of toughness? Sure. But again, you know, imagine my two fingers are something you're cutting in between. I have never seen anyone push their knife in something and then really reef it this way and this way, which would be the only way that you could potentially break a hollow ground knife. Okay. Further, let me add that folding knives, that isn't a huge consideration because the pivot means that they're weak in this direction. Like, they're designed to be strong up and down, right? This lock is designed to be super strong this way. No folding knife is really designed to be super strong side to side. It's sort of an inherent weakness in the design. If you need that, you're going to need to go to a fixed blade. Okay, but for the purposes that we use a folding knife, the hollow grind is really, really great because it allows you to get a lot of strength, a lot of toughness, a lot of durability. And look at this. This is a fairly stocky blade, but it's not so stocky. But that hollow grind, I mean, kind of thins it out and refines it so that you can get a lot of that more delicate cutting done. All right, so there's just a quick side-by-side comparison of those blades. Again, this is not a full review, and I'm not going to do a full review. Well, obviously, we've already seen this 8010. I'm not going to do a full review on both of these because this is essentially the same as the 8010, just with different materials. I will do a full review on this one because it's a little more different, and I feel like there would be, even those who already have a standard 8010 would really, you know, I don't know, I certainly did, would look at this and go, man, I may need to add a second 8010. Or if you don't have any and you're considering out of the three which one to buy, you know, it's the 8010 Lite and the standard 8010 are so similar that, you know, if you like a drop point, they're so close that it probably doesn't matter which one you pick. Just make the decision based on cost. However, the Tanto is offering some different options. So I will do a full review on that and discussion. Look forward to your contribution. I mean, your comments on that. Let me know what you think about hollow grinds versus flat grinds down in the comments below. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will talk to you soon.